What's going on, people? Welcome to another In Motion Football live stream. Today we got the fourth iteration of our offseason preview series. We got the Bengals and the Chiefs today. These are the teams that have to spend in order to not regress. So I've been grouping the teams up in a bunch of different categories throughout the duration of this series. For anybody that might be watching this series for the first time, what I've done up to this point are previews for the bad teams that can build, the good teams that can build, the contenders that can build. Now, I mean, I guess I had a shittier wording for this before. But this were the teams that have to spend to stay in place. I've reworded that for a better title, which is the teams that will regress if they do not spend. That is what we have going on for this stream. The Bengals and the Chiefs are the two teams that I think are both in this situation. So we're going to jump right into it. Let's start with the Chiefs, I guess. Okay, yeah, we're going to start with the Chiefs, and we're going to get into why I think this is an appropriate categorization for this team. So, Kansas City, if you get into the depth chart, I think a good starting point would be not just who they're losing, but who they have to consider giving extensions to. So, if you look at the Chiefs, they have Tooney, Leo Chenal, Brian Cook, Justin Watson, or is it Jalen Watson? Jalen Watson, Pacheco, and Pacheco to give extensions to potentially, because they're all in the last year of their deals. So that's something you have to think about and consider. And then the other thing to think about is the fact that Nick Bolton is a key free agent. Justin Reed is a key free agent. I would not go as far to say that DeAndre Hopkins is a key free agent, but I think losing both Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins means that you do have to replace them at receiver. You might lose Travis Kelce, and even if you bring back Travis Kelce, it should probably be in a different role. Shout out to Time to Shine. He said still fuming, but here we are. But yeah, that's a Raptors fan right there for anybody who might not know the context. So yeah, you got the fact that you're gonna have to replace Hopkins / Hollywood Brown. You might have to replace Travis Kelce. What we learned is that they're gonna have to invest in the offensive line. And then at the running back room, again, P. Ryan and Hunt are free agents. Pacheco is going into the last year of his deal. They would maybe consider extending him. When you go to the defensive side of the team, Amenihu and Uche are free agents. I don't think either of them played like huge roles. Anyways, you got Karlaftis, Adana, and the first round pick are coming back. But again, Nick Bolton was their main linebacker. He's a free agent. Then they have to consider potential extensions for Watson and Cook, who are both going into the last year. Justin Reed is a free agent. So my thing about the Chiefs is that there's going to be quite a bit of turnover. When we go to the EPA stats, where did the Chiefs rank? The Chiefs ranked 11 offensively, and they ranked 17 defensively. That's kind of representative. I mean, I think that's something you saw more of in the Super Bowl than anything. I think they were successfully able to mask the fact that they weren't that great of a team with just the brilliance of Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid for a long time. Eventually, they just ran into a team that was playing too good to mask those things against. But yeah, the thing about the Chiefs and why I put them in this category is that they have a lot of spending to do, because there's a bunch of players that they're going to lose, but a lot of the players that are going to stay, they're going into the last year of their deal. So if you're not going to extend them, you're going to lose them next year. For that purpose, there's not really a whole lot of long-term there's not a whole lot of this team that you can guarantee is going to be there in 2 years. So like Travis Kelce, can you guarantee he's going to be here in 2 years? No. Pacheco, can you guarantee him? No, because he's going into the last year of his deal. Trey Smith is a free agent. Jawan Taylor and DJ Humphries, do we know if they're good enough to continue on the team? No. Creed Humphrey is one of the players I think you could say they're guaranteed to be here in 2 years. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, I would say the same thing for them. And then defensively, Chris Jones at his age with his contract, I can't guarantee anything. Karlaftis, I would guarantee is going to be here. Chenal is going into the last year of his deal. And then McDuffie. So it's like, I think they have a core of McDuffie, Karlaftis, Creed Humphrey, and Pat Mahomes. But aside from those 4 players, there's a whole lot of turnover on this roster. So that's why when I was thinking about the Chiefs, I was thinking, if they don't come out here and spend, there's going to be a whole lot of turnover. And if there's a whole lot of turnover, I think that puts them in a difficult spot when it comes to contending. Of course, the Chiefs have a brilliant coach, a brilliant defensive coordinator, and a brilliant quarterback. But if anything, what we saw last year is that, it is possible for that to not sustain wins at the highest level. So when I think about the Chiefs, I think that they're going to have to spend on some cornerstone pieces. Like they have to decide who that is. So if they decide that Nick Bolton is who they want to have to anchor their team for a long time, then they got to get that done. If they want to decide that Trey Smith is a part of that, they got to get that done. If they decide that I think they should probably consider paying Karlaftis in a couple years. But the point being, I think the Chiefs are going to want to build a vision for, I guess, the next 3 years and decide who's going to be a part of that core and who's not. And I do think that there's going to be quite a bit of turnover. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of the players with 1 year left on their deal get traded. Maybe somebody gets cut as a cap casualty. And, it might be like an extend, cut, trade kind of a situation for a lot of players. I just think that the Chiefs are poised for a lot of turnover. And in order to keep some continuity and to build a bit of a foundation, some spending has to be done, whether that means bringing in premier players through the trade market and free agency or extending some of their players. And when I think about the Chiefs and where they're at financially, they're in the middle of the pack, by the way. So you can't, that got zoomed in way too much. You can't see it clearly, but the Chiefs are in here with the Vikings in this middle blue pack here for people who haven't been watching this series. This is an original chart that I put together, and it basically keeps track of every team's where they're at in terms of guaranteed money versus the other teams. And it starts at the Steelers as the cheapest team and the Eagles as the most expensive team. The Chiefs are in the middle of the pack. Now, just a bit of context there. A part of that is because Patrick Mahomes, the guaranteed dollars on his contract, they kind of happen on a rolling basis. So every year, more of his contract gets guaranteed. So for that reason, the Chiefs are probably a little bit lower than they should be. But all things considered, they're not a particularly expensive team, which makes sense if you consider everything I said about the fact that a lot of this team is heading to the market, if not this year, the year after. So they're not they're not an expensive team. There's not a team that's set to have a whole bunch of continuity. I think the Chiefs, they have a very interesting offseason ahead. Again, if I was the GM, my approach would be, again, to identify who the core pieces are. Is Shenault a part of the core? Is Bolton a part of the core? Is Trey Smith a part of the core? I'd find some players to extend on backloaded deals, kind of like the way the Eagles do it. I'd take some pieces. So maybe Brian Cook isn't a part, or Jalen Watson isn't a part of your core. I would explore what could be gotten in the trade market. And if not, somebody on a bigger deal that's not necessarily positioned to contribute. So in this case, maybe Jawan Taylor, that's somebody who most people would consider a below average starter. You consider cutting those kind of players. And when you're in the free agency market, you're looking for young veterans. What I would say are players coming off rookie deals that aren't too old, that can be relied on for 2-3 years to play at a high level, and looking to make them a part of a core. So not a lot of people look at the Chiefs this way, but I actually think the Chiefs have quite a bit of spending to do. I think they need to lock into a core for this next Super Bowl team. I think what happened this year is kind of like this old team this old core, so to speak, it kind of got killed. And it's time for them to build the next Super Bowl team, the next dynasty. And I think step one of that is this year. And that's why I have them in the category of a team that will have to spend to avoid regression, because I think if they have a cheap offseason and they just add, solid players here and there around the edges, I think it'll be hard for them to get considerably better. And maybe that's not a huge deal, because as is last year, they were a Super Bowl team. So the need to get better maybe isn't like it's not the same as the Bengals, which is the other team we're going to talk about today. But yeah, they do still need to take strides forward. And I think it'll involve spending some money. As for where I would want to see them spend money, I don't know if it would be Trey Smith. I don't know, because I think Trey Smith is going to get a ludicrous contract. I mean, I think there might be another player in free agency. So I feel like they've done this before where they let somebody go. Like, I feel like, did they let Eric Fisher go and sign somebody else? I think there was an offseason where they let Eric Fisher go and they signed Orlando Brown or something. That kind of a move where maybe you let Trey Smith go and you bring a second tier guard in free agency, somebody who finds some success in Kansas City. But, man, they need to invest in the offensive line. I think from a weapon standpoint, I kind of get the hunch that they're going to lose Kelsey to retirement. They're going to lose him to the Swifties. So from that standpoint, I think they need to get one more weapon. I think Worthy and Rashee Rice is solid. They could stand to get, again, one more weapon to give themselves a trio. And then when it comes to defensively, honestly, I just think the pass rush could be better. I don't think their pass rush was dominant. Dana and Karlaftis are good. Omenahu is solid. But I don't think they get enough from that first-round pick, Anudike Uzama. And yeah, they're losing Omenahu and Uche to free agency anyways. But I think the pass rush could stand to get better. Literally everybody around Chris Jones is entering free agency. So they literally only have Chris Jones going into next year. So again, like, you have to get a defensive tackle. You have to get an edge rusher. They're losing Nick Bolton. So you got to figure out who you want your linebacker to be. If not, if it's not him, you have to add somebody. Their secondary, I think, is solid in a lot of the spots, but I think 27 Connor could probably be upgraded. So yeah, I think from a lot of perspectives, man, I think, yeah, this team has to reload almost everywhere, and even running back, they need to add a running back. The Chiefs kind of have to add everywhere. And that's what I mean. Like, if they don't spend this year, if they don't have an expensive offseason, I kind of have a hard time seeing them even being as good as they were last year. So I think the stakes are pretty high. Again, I would focus offensive line and defensive line. I'd let the chips fall where they may at the linebacker position in the secondary. I think Spag can do some magic. Big up, King. Good to see you. But yeah, man, I think the Chiefs have quite a bit of committing to do. King, if you just got here, I basically explained how if you look at this team, right, they're going to lose everybody except Worthy and Rashee Rice, and they might lose Kelsey, so they need to add a weapon. We saw their offensive line. They need to add an offensive line in the Super Bowl. They need to add an offensive line, a couple pieces at least. At the running back position, they're losing everybody but Pacheco, and Pacheco's going into the last year of their deal, so they need some help at running back. At defensive tackle, Chris Jones is the only guy who's staying, so they need a defensive tackle. They're losing 2 pass rushers, and as is, their pass rush could get better, so they need a pass rusher. They're losing Nick Bolton, so they're going to need to bring a linebacker in. In the secondary, they probably need to upgrade Connor, number 27, but Justin Reed is also a free agent. So the thing about the Chiefs is that, like, the Chiefs have a lot of spending to do. If they don't have an expensive offseason, they're going to regress next year. And that's why they're ultimately in this category with the Cincinnati Bengals, who we're going to pivot to next. Cincinnati Bengals would be C, so they should be somewhere here. Okay, Cincinnati Bengals. Also a team that is kind of similarly positioned, in my opinion. So you look at them and you maybe don't see as many free agents, but you got to peel back the layers here. There's a whole second thing to look at. So the Cincinnati Bengals probably need to, like, they have to consider paying Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, and Cam Taylor-Britt. These are 3 of their better players, by the way, right? So before you even look at free agents, Jamar Chase, going into the last year of his deal, he needs a bag. Basically their best player offensively aside from Burrow. Trey Hendrickson, their best defensive player, needs a bag. And then Cam Taylor-Britt, I would argue, their second best defensive player, needs a bag. And then when you look at some of their free agents, it's the quality of free agents here, right? It's Mike Hilton, somebody who's been one of the best slot corners in football. Now, I don't think paying Mike Hilton is the answer, but the point is that you've lost a very good slot corner. If it's not Mike Hilton, and it probably won't be, you do have to replace that. They're losing, where is he? They're losing T. Higgins. So if you don't pay him a long-term deal, you have to give him the franchise tag, which is a huge cap hit this year. That would be a chunk of their cap space. And then if they pay them, then the question becomes how and what do you pay Jamar Chase? So that's another thing to consider. Mike Gesicki, their tight end, is a free agent. Now, I don't think that's a dire thing to replace, but I mean, he won't be cheap, I don't think, because he did have a productive year. And then if you think about who they are as a team, their offensive line has never been good. So they need to be investing in the offensive line. The Bengals have a shit ton of needs. That's why they're in this tier. Uh, Defensively, their linebacker Jermaine Pratt requested a trade, so he's trying to get paid as well. Like this whole team is trying to get paid. Literally, at the defensive line, their best player wants to get paid. At linebacker, their second best player wants to get paid, and then in the secondary, their best player wants to get paid. You go to the offense, their quarterback has been paid. But by the way, if you think about when he got paid a while ago. It's not going to be too long before he wants another bag again. The quarterback market has jumped up quite a bit. And Joe Burrow, I wouldn't be surprised if after this year he wants to come back to the negotiating table. So there's that. And then Gesicki, your tight end, wants to get paid. Your whole offensive line could be upgraded. So there's money that has to go there. And T. Higgins wants to get paid. So big up to the Sarcasm City Raiders. Whoever's dropping in, salute to you guys. This is In Motion Football. We're doing an off-season preview series where we preview a bunch of teams in the NFL. So I say this all to say, much like the Kansas City Chiefs, this whole roster needs money. Like at every level, there needs to be money paid to players here. And again, if the Bengals don't do it, I think they're going to regress. Now, you might say they were an average team on paper last year. Where did they have a draft pick? I think they're picking somewhere in the 40s. No, why am I saying 40s? In the middle of the teens. Let me see. 2025 NFL mock draft. Where are they? I think the Bengals are like, what, 16? Why is it whenever I'm looking for a mock draft, I click the weirdest link that doesn't just give me the information easily? The Bengals are at 17, right? So they're in the middle of the way. By the way, shout out to all the Raiders. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This is In Motion Football. I know you guys just came from a very different kind of football stream. This is an NFL football channel, and we're in the middle of an off-season preview series. So basically, the NFL's equivalent of the transfer market is coming up. And I'm previewing every team's needs going into the offseason. So we're looking at the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs now, two pretty prominent teams. But yeah, the theme for both these teams is that both teams have a roster full of players that are either going to be free agents or are going to look to get paid. So from that standpoint, both these teams have a lot of money to spend. So what I was going to say is the Bengals averaged out as a pretty average, like they finished as a pretty average team. So 7th in EPA as an offense. What the hell did I click here? What did I open up? Oh, filters? Fuck that shit. Okay. And then defensively, the Bengals finished 23rd, right? So that averages out at 15. So literally in the middle of the pack. They actually have the 17th draft pick, which means they were the 16th team by record, right? So this team was very average last year, and I would say that they underperformed their talent a little bit, right? They could have probably finished slightly above average. I think they could regress to legitimately being average if they don't pay these players, because if you have a disgruntled Trey Hendrickson, a disgruntled Cam Taylor-Britt, a disgruntled Jamar Chase, yeah, I don't think you get the absolute most out of your talent. It's kind of similar to what happened last year. And for them to maximize what they have, they got to spend a lot of money. And I don't think the Bengals are cut out for that. Now, when I showed you guys my guaranteed money chart, the Chiefs are quite a bit higher than the Bengals. Wait, I lied. Yeah. So the Chiefs are over here. The Bengals are here. They're actually, I think, the 8th cheapest team. So there is money there to spend, right? The Bengals don't actually have an excuse, but they do have a really, really big need, in my opinion. So like I said, Higgins and Jamar Chase both need a bag. The offensive line needs to get better, so investment has to be made. The tight end needs a bag. Running back is maybe the only position that doesn't need a bag. But yeah, the defensive line, Trey Hendrickson needs a bag. Jermaine Pratt is requesting a trade because he needs a bag. Cam Taylor-Britt needs a bag. Mike Hilton is a free agent. So every part of this is an average team. And this is the thing, bro. Like what is their way to go from being average to better. Because if this roster was average and they have to spend so much money just to keep this roster intact, how do they take strides to become a better team? The situation is actually pretty complicated. So, yeah, we can, I guess, kind of just like get into a bigger conversation about the Chiefs and the Bengals. King, if you want to do the Steelers, bro, are you going to be free tomorrow? Because I can 100% do Steelers, Seahawks, Patriots, Rams, the teams with money that aren't losing much. So these are the teams that I think are most primed to make like big serious moves. We can do this stream tomorrow if you want. But yeah, Steelers, Seahawks, Patriots, Rams. All you guys say less. Okay, I'll probably run it for like 8 o'clock my time, maybe 9 o'clock my time. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, man, about both these teams again. For anybody that's here that maybe missed what I did for Kansas City, so remember what I said about Cincinnati, and watch the overlap. So at wide receiver / tight end, right? You might lose Travis Kelce to retirement. You're going to lose Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins. All you really have is Worthy and Rashee Rice. So you need to invest in weapons. At the offensive line spot, you saw what happened to your offensive line in the Super Bowl. You need to invest in your line. At the running back position, Hunt and P. Ryan are free agents. Isaiah Pacheco is going into the last year of his deal. You need a running back. At the defensive line spot, literally every defensive tackle except Chris Jones is hitting free agency. So you need to invest in the defensive line. At linebacker, Nick Bolton is a free agent. Chanel is going into the last year of his deal. You got to spend money at linebacker. In the secondary, Justin Reed is a free agent. Cook and Watson are both going into the last years of their deal. And Connor needs to be upgraded because he wasn't good last year. So once again, they 100% need to invest in almost every part of the team. I'm about to get my shit off. Say less. That's what we need. I've always been honest about them this whole season, the good and the bad. This is true, man. You've been very honest about the Steelers, but to be honest about the Bengals and the Chiefs, man, I have a hard time seeing how these teams could get better without having a huge summer in terms of spending. Now, I think the Chiefs obviously are the much better team, and they're much better positioned to spend because their owners care more than the Bengals. The Bengals have really, really goddamn cheap owners, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason, man. Like the Bengals have a greater need to get better, and I think they're not really positioned as well to do so. And then of course, like if the Chiefs regress a little bit, they're still going to be a damn good AFC team, and they're always going to have a chance in the playoffs with their players. And also, like I don't know, we'll have to see. I don't know if any AFC team is going to become a super team like the Eagles overnight. Like I think teams might attempt to build that style of team. It's not going to happen overnight. So you still might be good in the AFC. But like, obviously if you're in a championship window, which you are whenever you have Pat Mahomes healthy, like it's going to be on them to do quite a bit of spending to position themselves to be I guess more competitive against the Eagles. Maybe that's how they have to look at things. For the Bengals though, bro, you were an average team. And you're going to become a shit team if you don't start spending money. So that's a shame with Joe Burrow. But then again, that owner is really, really cheap. He's known for not wanting to fire coaches because he doesn't want to have to pay that coach and hire another coach because now you're paying two coaches at once. And then he's also known to be somebody who, what was it? Like, I think he was selling the TVs from the stadium. So this NFL stadiums have these like TVs in the concourse. So when you're going to get like a beer or something, you can watch the game while you're in line. The guy was selling those TVs, like they were advertising the sale and stuff. So it's just like this owner is notoriously cheap, doesn't really pay players. Oh, the other thing he's known for is he doesn't pay players before 1 year left in their deal. So like, bro, the Bengals are cheap. I kind of think they're screwed. Like, I think they're kind of just going to be, if they don't do anything serious, they're going to be slightly worse than they were last year. And then they're probably going to be pretty shit the year after that. What's up, Disco Flash? Bro, were you here for the Chiefs part? I can run over, I guess, the situation the Chiefs are in. Again, if you just got here. But yeah, big up Disco Flash, our resident Chiefs fan. So you said F the Bengals. And the second message that King put in the chat was fuck the Bengals. So we got a lot of Bengals hostility to start off, but it is what it is, man. I'm definitely not going to sit here and defend the Bengals because it's a shame that this trio of players, Burrow, Higgins, and Chase, has fallen into the lap of that cheap ass owner, man. They deserve so much better. But yeah, basically, Disco, like, here's what I'm looking at with the Chiefs, right? So DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown are both free agents. So you got to replace them, because I think Rice and Worthy, that's fine as a 1 and 2 for sure. But because you might lose Kelsey to retirement, you do need a number 3, especially if you can't rely on your tight end to be like a serious part of your offense, because it'll probably be like a rookie or Noah Gray. So they got to get a weapon. And then we saw what happened to their offensive line in the Super Bowl. So they got to spend on the offensive line. They're going to lose Hunt and P. Ryan to free agency, and Pacheco's in the last year of his deal. So they got to get a running back in. Basically, anybody in green is a free agent. So every defensive tackle except Chris Jones is a free agent. So they got to spend on the defensive line. Nick Bolton is a free agent, and Leo Chenal is entering the last year of his deal. So you got to spend at the linebacker spot. And then in the secondary, Cook is entering the last year of his deal. Watson is entering the last year of his deal. Justin Reed is a free agent. And then Shamari Connor needs to be upgraded on because he wasn't good last year. So there needs to be money that's spent there. So the Chiefs, like what I was talking about with them, is like they just have a lot of money. They have a lot of spending to do just to stay in place. Like that's my overall take with the Chiefs and the Bengals, is that the need to spend is there for both of them to stay in place. Now, if they spend big and they have a huge offseason, they could definitely get better. Both obviously have some key things in place in terms of having elite quarterbacks and having some solid weapons. But if either of these teams have cheap off seasons, they're setting themselves up to regress next year. How about F the Patriots? I think the thing about the Patriots is like they've had enough shit years to where I'm not that mad at them anymore. Like it's like I wanted them to suck so badly for so long, and then they did. So I kind of got what I wanted. And then at that point, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm happy now. Like I got what I wanted. So yeah, that's the thing about the Patriots. I don't think I have all that much hostility. I'm thinking honestly at this point, like the team that I had that kind of hostility for, I don't think so. Like I don't even think the thing about the Chiefs is that like as much as it was annoying that the Chiefs kept winning, they still had players that I liked, and they still have Andy Reid, who I'll always like because of how much he gave to my childhood. So like I could never bring myself to hate the Chiefs the way I hated the Patriots. It kind of wasn't possible. And then like, I don't know. From an annoying standpoint, I think I hate the Niners. I think that's the team that I actually just like, I don't know, something about them really rubs me the wrong way. I feel like they carry themselves like winners, but they haven't won anything since I've been alive, right? So like, it just feels misplaced. Like you got to win something before you act big. That's just my thoughts though. So I think my hatred is reserved for the Niners. But yeah, man, I'm gonna close this stream out in a little bit. I keep these streams really short because I want there to be as much replay value as possible. Shout out to for real, man. That hatred is mutual. Me and Brock, that hatred is mutual. But yeah, big up to everybody in here. 83 people watching live. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. In Motion Football, we're gonna keep pushing forward with these off-season preview series streams. We finished the first 4. We got teams with money that aren't losing much, and then teams with money that are losing pieces. These are going to be the next 2 streams. I'm probably going to finish these off tomorrow. And then we're going to go from there. I think the others, I'll be streaming Tuesday and Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I'll be streaming on this channel. And I'll probably be doing 2 streams every day. So we're going to only have 3 streams left at the end of this week. So that'll be sweet. And yeah, we're gonna get through these preview streams. Gonna make sure you guys know the situation every team is in going into free agency, and then when free agency happens, I'm gonna have nightly streams to recap everything that happened. And I'm gonna try to take days off of work to maybe be ready to go live as soon as anything big happens. So that might be how we do things. Stay tuned, people. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you guys don't miss when things go on. I'm gonna close this stream off here. Big up to everybody that tapped in. I'm going to see you guys later. Take care. I'm out.